You are now tuned in to the Quiet Storm at the Metaphysical Dentist. The doctor's in.
Hello, welcome to Metaphysical Dentist. We are broadcasting on metaphysical and fringe science to educate and discuss the things that the alphabet soup agencies and others, leading our country, the world, whatever, would hope to keep you in the dark about. We're going to try to bring it to light for you. So let me introduce myself. I am Tina. I'm a Reiki master and an intuitive channel. With me today is my co-creator in life and my soulmate, Layne.
Yo.
Layne is the main artist and designer at Twisted Attic Productions. So you might want to check him out. He'll have some information at the end of the podcast if you want to see our other stuff. But for our first episode, we really wanted to kick off with something that we wouldn't be doing this podcast if it hadn't been for these things. So we're going to discuss the awakening process. When it started happening to me initially, I didn't know what was going on, and it was kind of a new concept back then. And I started hearing it, and people said, "You're going through a spiritual awakening." And it was almost like I got my period or something for the first time, the way people were about it. Like, oh, you got your spiritual awakening.
So many people are going through it at the same time, too. It's crazy.
Right. And honestly, this year, more than any other time in history I've seen, it seems like it's a mass awakening. So anyway, most of you probably already know what that is. What is a spiritual awakening? What causes it? What are we awakening to? But if not, we're here to give you the deets on that. And we're going to go ahead and start by sharing our own personal stories and sort of what this looked like for us, the good, the bad, the ugly. And then we actually look forward to taking some of your calls so we can hear from you guys, and hopefully you'll share some of your own experiences. All right. Now, I'm sure you're also wondering why the name Metaphysical Dentist. So I'll go ahead and start there. Metaphysical Dentist was just kind of the off-the-wall name that we just thought was hilarious because a lot of stuff happens at the dentist's office, it seems, including my own stuff happened at the dentist's office. And, my actual awakening process started about 20 years ago and has kept going ever since. And I might think I'm completely awake and completely enlightened, and then I'll peel off another layer, heal some more, and keep going. It's like it never ends. It is the microcosm and the macrocosm and, the yin, the yang, the balance, the whole universe and everything in between. So my biggest impact, again, was my near-death experience, and that's another thing we want to talk about on the show. My near-death experience happened during a trip to the dentist. So back again, why the metaphysical dentist? And that is because that was where my near-death experience, my actual push into, hey, this isn't everything, and what you've been taught so far doesn't even touch the tip of the iceberg. So moving forward, here we go. Again, my process started 20 years ago, and it's kept going ever since. The biggest impact in my life was my near-death experience, which happened during, not a big deal trip to the dentist. I do have a problem with some nerves and stuff, so a lot of times I get, the laughing gas, the nitrous oxide, along with the Novocaine, because neither one of them work by themselves with me. This particular day that I went to the dentist, it was, no big deal. It was nothing terribly unusual. But I did go under anesthesia in terms of I went under the nitrous oxide. I think they must have been kind of swagging it that day where there wasn't an anesthesiologist actually working, and they were just kind of, oh, we'll watch this, right?
The janitor was filling in that day.
Yeah, the janitor was filling in, right? So, I'm having the drill go at me, and it's, very unpleasant. I hate this part of the dentist, right? And I'm feeling the nitrous oxide, And then I think I'm starting to get tunnel vision or something, right? So it's like I go through this tunnel vision sort of thing, and then the next thing I know, I am sort of floating. Okay. I'm floating at the dentist office. And I do realize that I'm floating. And I'm like, wow, I feel really, really strange. My head felt really big. My body felt really small. Almost like I was a floating sperm or something.
Did you feel like a magnetic pull
I did,
of
yeah.
your spirit outside of your body,
Um,
like I did?
I actually went through that tunnel, but I didn't realize, that's what it was, of course. But
Yeah.
I started having that tunnel vision and it was like I was traveling down and everything started sounding weird. And then all of a sudden, just out of my body. Didn't realize I was out of my body. I just,
Yeah.
felt like I was floating. I knew I felt weird. I was like, my head's big. What's
And you
going
know
on?
immediately that it's not a dream when you
Oh, yeah. Super real. Probably one of the most real memories I have in complete full detail. Realer than real.
Stranger Things really got it right. The upside down, that's the way I saw it in my out of
Yeah,
body experience, where everything was just off a little bit,
right.
where it was a different shade and it was a little dingy looking. It wasn't quite the way you would see it in normal life.
To me, it was like the atmosphere was more dense looking, almost and
Yeah.
lit up. I mean, it was like almost like a bluish light,
Yeah, it had a
kind
tint
of.
to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. But everything else was like extremely like the colors were
Vivid.
very vivid.
Yeah.
Um, and
It's
I
like a
did,
filter on it almost.
yeah, exactly like that vivid filter. Um, I did feel some sort of magnetic pull once I was out of my body. Um, like something was pulling me up towards the corner of the ceiling.
Yeah.
Um, Now, I never encountered any beings or anything like that. And I had been raised rather conservative Baptist, which, they don't sort of like me to talk about
No, they
this
never
kind of
do.
stuff to them. They're like,
The
oh, sorry
medical
about it.
community doesn't like it either.
Oh, no, no. Actually, my son is pre-med and he works with the doctors and stuff. And he likes to argue with me about this and say, oh, you had apoxia, you had a brain death.
You got DMT
Yeah, yeah.
introduced
It
to
was
your bloodstream because,
hallucinatory.
yeah,
But I have had
I've heard it all too.
hallucinations, and I have even had, those astral travel dreams where I'm out of my body and I'm watching everybody sleep. And it's a similar sort of environment, but it's not that at all. And also, when I'm dreaming, I do see that silver cord. I did not see the silver cord here, but
I didn't see it in mine either.
um,
But you definitely feel it when you get snapped back to your body.
oh, for sure.
It's like a bungee cord pulling you back in.
Yeah, I wasn't given like a choice. It seemed like it was accidental, and that I wasn't supposed to be there. But I
What
wasn't scared. I felt totally at peace.
Once you think about your physical being, you automatically snap back into your body.
Yeah,
It's a general thing that happens to everyone.
that's definitely what happened to me. I didn't realize I was outside of my body, initially. But, after I was like, all right, I feel light, I feel strange, my head's big, I'm being pulled, I'm floating. I started saying, where am I, and looked down and saw a bunch of doctors working on somebody,
Yeah.
lights and caps and gowns and all that.
And the janitor had the needles and the
Yeah,
gas.
yeah. The janitor was, intermittently holding the nitrous on me and himself.
The metaphysical dentist.
um, but I did at some point. I was, observing, and I'm like, what's going on down there? And I see they're working on somebody, and then I am like, as soon as I recognize, oh, that's me, it was like in the blink of an eye, it was faster than the speed of light. I was back in my body, and I wasn't confused or scared. I was actually exuberant. I felt recharged, excited, and I immediately start, kind of going on and on to the dentist with all these, instruments in my mouth, So I'm like, well, but I'm like, I was up on the ceiling and I saw you guys, and I instantly saw a total look of panic on their face, and they start screaming, "Turn up the oxygen, turn down the nitrous," and I know that they're kind of looking at me crazy, and I kind of just pipe down. I'm like, all right, let's just get this over with,
Th-
so I can
Um,
go and think about this.
yeah. Th-
And you know, they fix that. They finish up. They're very, very coddling to me. Nobody's talking about what I said, and you know,
Because it's very dangerous to give you too much.
right, right,
Like Kanye West's mother died due to that during an operation of some kind of
anesthesia. Yeah.
anesthesia for it, and passed away because she received too much.
Well, I'd had nitrous as, you know, part of the regiment anytime I had work done, a few times. So it wasn't unfamiliar to me. I'd never had any kind of experience like that.
Yeah,
I have had some, you know, experiences working with, you know, things like mushrooms and
yeah,
other things that I'm, you know,
all the
trying to
good things.
natural healing. Um, and I know the difference between a hallucination
Yeah,
and what happened.
yeah,
And what happened did change my life. Like I said, my son has this argument with me constantly because he's pre-med, so everything's science, you know. And
yeah.
he's like, "Oh, you had hypoxia, you had like the death of the brain, you had lack of oxygen," and
Yeah,
so. And I'm like, I guess you know what you're saying is true. That's the scientific explanation for it.
both can be true. I
Both
mean,
can be true,
yeah,
you know. What I experienced was very real. It's probably the most real thing to me,
absolutely.
and the most transformative thing in my life.
And I hate the way people are dismissive about it, especially like atheists and people that don't want to believe in anything are so quick to cancel out what you know happened. You know,
Right.
it's
Now,
sad. Like,
I was actually raised very religious, and I know a lot of people, you know, when they have near death experiences, they see Jesus, God, Muhammad, I don't know, some kind of, you know, angelic or other realm sort of figure. But it was not a religious experience for me in terms of traditional religion.
yeah,
It was religious for me because I definitely saw that,
it was very spiritual.
yeah, that the whole concept of life after death, and there being more than just this realm that we see every day
Yeah,
was absolutely true.
and the passing is painless. That's the beauty of it, and that's why you tend to live your life more full and everything, knowing that when it's time to go, you're gonna go easily.
Through a door
Yeah, and fade
instead of an
out.
ending.
It's not a sudden, crash.
Now, to back up, like what I'm saying, that something did happen to me. Um, and I guess it's, you know, going to be me against them in terms of it was just a hallucination versus it was real. I literally saw on top of all the doctors' heads and stuff.
Yeah,
And the way that as soon as I recognized myself, it wasn't a pause. I was instantaneously back there looking out my eyes and talking to the doctors. So, anyway, afterwards, you know, like I said, they coddled me a lot. They walked me to my car. They probably called me 5 times to check on me. We never discussed what happened in the office, but I think that they were, you know, concerned I was going to try to like pull some medical
of
malpractice suit or
course.
anything. But I had no interest in that. I was just really excited about what I had just experienced, and it definitely transformed me. Now, I was a person of faith before, and I do believe in life after death, but to actually experience it as, hey, this just happened to you,
Yeah,
was something else altogether.
it's only a small piece of mankind that experiences what we went through.
Right. And so I did have some also have some biomedical clues that something had happened to me, aside from just me going, this is what happened. I looked out my body. My temperature definitely changed. So, like, my temperature throughout life was 98.6 on the dot, unless I was sick.
Wow, your core temperature changed.
My core temperature changed 2 degrees.
Wow.
It actually went from, well, almost 2 degrees. It actually went from 98.6 standing any moment, any day ever to 96.8.
Is it still that way?
No, it took about 2 years, but it came back up to like normal range now.
Hmm.
So, you know. And then also, I'll just be honest, like I had profound insights after that. I did a lot of study, but I feel like I was getting a lot more. I came back with something else that I didn't have before, like heightened intuition,
Yeah,
um, more vivid dreams,
yeah.
sometimes like dreams that, aspects of it came true.
I think it awakens parts of you that you haven't used before. A lot of people that happens that way.
For sure.
Yeah. There was a study one time, I can't remember exactly where it was at, but a doctor actually took signs and put it on top of the lights that was, 10 feet or whatever above the table, and put put it on top of the lights in case someone had an out of body experience. They could tell him it was a picture or whatever it was. I can't remember exactly or a word. And a couple people actually had an out of body experience and told him what was on the light. He never gave the info to anyone, but people told him what was on top of the light, which helped prove it to him. I
Right,
think I learned
right.
about that at the ARE Center in Virginia Beach, but I can't remember the details. You could probably look it up. But
There was also another case of an actual, he was a neurosurgeon that was an atheist. And then he had some sort of accident. I can't remember, heart attack. I have to look it up. His name was Dr. Andrew or something. But he was definitely a, a serious atheist, you know? He
mhm,
was that scientific guy. And in his experience, he did go to heaven, quote unquote, or a heavenly realm. And
mhm,
he saw a lot of stuff that profoundly affected him as well. And when he came back, he was obsessed. He wanted to research it. He wanted to see what happened. And okay, so he definitely turned his perspective on this because during this process of trying to figure out and explain scientifically what happened to him, he just ended up becoming very, very spiritual. Um, and most people that have near death experiences, it does transform them, whether it be losing the fear of death or just, opening that sort of awakening process for them. So,
yeah.
yes, this was part of my awakening. Um, like I said, it wasn't profoundly religious, even though I had been raised very conservative Baptist, but it definitely showed me, yes,
You know
you
it's spiritual when it happens. It's very spiritual.
absolutely, like it was my soul that I was in. And I can tell you, people say, how does that feel? Did you feel like yourself? How do you know it wasn't your body? There wasn't really emotions attached with
No.
me. It was like I was observing myself outside of myself. I wasn't even surprised, to be where I was. I was just kind of like more surprised at the way my body felt,
And
sort of a light
you're
body.
free of weight. You're weightless, and
Right,
any pains you have, you don't have when you go through an out of body experience or a
right.
near death experience. So it was very positive for both of us. It sounds like.
Yeah, there was no pain, there was no fear. It was really just a sense of wonder that I felt.
Yeah,
And I couldn't just let it go. I would not dismiss it as a hallucination because it was the most real
yeah, absolutely.
experience I'd ever had. And it did, like I said, it changed me. I brought some stuff back with me. My core body temperature had changed for a while. Um, and like spiritually, it definitely changed me. It started me asking questions like, what just happened? What's going on? And why didn't I like immediately see all the stuff everybody sees immediately?
Yeah,
Um, I do think that it was mainly because it was a pure accident and it wasn't my time
yeah.
and I needed to get right back, but I wasn't groggy, I wasn't confused, and it wasn't like I had lost consciousness. It was like I was really awake.
Yeah, very
Um,
lucid. Yeah.
and I know you've had one too. Was it kind of like that for you? And I know you don't want to really discuss it all right
No,
now,
I'll
but
discuss it. I'll discuss it. But yeah, mine was scary in the part that I saw a person die in the
mm,
hospital,
right.
floating over top of him, and it was confirmed when I woke up and saw him being wheeled out. It was the same guy I saw when I was above my body. They actually shocked me back to revive
Oh,
me. I actually
right.
flatlined, and yeah, it was disturbing in that sense, but physically and emotionally and everything, I was intact. It was like a kid on Christmas at first. You're floating, which is everybody's dream is to fly,
Hmm. Hmm.
and um,
I'm feeling weightless, right?
yeah, I'm feeling weightless, feeling painless. Um, it was probably the best feeling I ever had, to be honest with you.
You told me there was something that happened that really, like, you were able to tell the doctor something you saw that
Yeah.
confirmed.
Um, to make a long story short, um, I passed away for a minute or two. Um, when it happened, the same thing happened to me. I started floating, and I didn't really look back at my body. I was just floating forward and moving on my own accord through the air. And I was in the ER, and I floated across the ER and went into another little room that's divided by curtains. And I saw a guy flatline, and they pronounced him dead. And the orderly put him on the bottom of a steel cart and put a sheet over
Jeez.
top of it, I guess to not disturb the other people in the hospital seeing him push a dead body down the hall.
Yeah, that can be disconcerting.
Yeah. So I saw him do that, and he started coming out the door with the body. And you couldn't see it at that point. It was covered up like he had a card of towels or something. And when I come to in my body as they were shocking me, the curtain was open on my little section, and I saw that man push the cart by the door, and the
Hmm.
the hand of the body started dragging the ground.
Oh, creepy.
Yeah, and I flipped my shit.
I bet.
I flipped my shit, and I had a bad experience because of I was in there for psychiatric reasons. I had a hard time when I was a kid, and I was in there for different reasons. So mine ended a little different, but it was still a very good experience.
Well,
I told them the same thing. I told them everything, and the doctor kept denying it, and they made me stay there, to the next morning, and wouldn't let me leave. The hospital had me on a 5150.
yeah, they treated you like you were crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and they had reason to. I wasn't right,
Disturbed, right?
and yeah, and the next day they kept telling me it didn't happen. It didn't happen.
Right?
You're hallucinating. They told me all the stuff they tell everybody.
I just don't
But the
understand.
doctor confirmed it, the one that,
Right?
I knew by his face
Uh,
that he knew that I'd seen that guy across the hall where there's no way I saw him before that.
they get very, very uncomfortable about these accounts of near-death experiences. Like
Yeah,
they are adamant that this did not happen to you.
yeah.
You know?
I wonder too how much they have to report on that,
Oh yeah.
to higher authorities. And I think they kept track of me after that, you know,
Right, right.
maybe not because of that, but it was in my chart.
Very interesting.
And it was brought up several times after that when I went to a hospital. Anywhere I went, it would
Right.
come up in
It was like a
conversation.
barometric thing. It was like a temperature gauge of how crazy are we today,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I think this is my opinion. I don't have a lot of facts to support this, but in my heart, I believe that they keep track of people that are sensitive to things.
For sure, I feel that way too.
Yeah. And they are adamant about making you crazy and on paper.
Right.
So they can take your freedom, take your rights, take away everything.
But they want to discredit you.
Yeah, to discredit you. And then if you come out and say something that they don't like, they have a record of you coming to the hospital every time, and they label you crazy and all this. And they're going to discredit everything you ever say after that point.
Oh yeah. I mean, we have a friend whose son, who is a hero, and I'm not going to give names and all this stuff right
Yeah,
now.
it was a very big story.
Very big story. Where he was speaking his truth about how our government has been committing some crimes against humanity, basically. Um, really not being the freedom loving country that they're trying to portray us as sometimes. And because of this, like the FBI showed up at his house and basically they like took him to a mental health hospital and, wanted to numb him down. They wanted to shut him up.
Yeah.
And he said that the doctor actually told him there, the military doctor said, by the time you leave here, we're going to shove so many pills down your throat that you're not going to know who you are.
And they would do it.
And they will do it. Um, so yeah, like they're really hell bent on discrediting you, um, coming out and talking about this stuff. Now I see like there's a mass awakening going on and they can't control it. And I don't think they like it because I'm just going to throw this out there. Fear is the opposite of love. Fear is control, you know.
Absolutely, yeah.
And if you're in a state of fear, you're not thinking as clearly, you're scared, you're not confident, and you're easily more controlled.
And love unites. They don't want you to unite with other people.
That's
Love brings people together. All the poor people that they're so fearful of rising up, love brings them together. When we look at everyone as our brother or sister, we are way more powerful than they are, and they can't have that.
yeah,
And that's a
definitely.
lot of it.
Definitely. Now, did you happen to have any like noticeable biochemical or anything side effects?
I'm not really
Residual?
sure. My that visit was so crazy. I didn't go for years after that.
Right.
I actually had pleurisy a couple years after that, and I didn't go to the doctor until I almost passed away from pleurisy. My throat swole shut and I couldn't breathe.
Mm,
It was to that point my experience was so bad of them locking me up and keeping me until the insurance ran out, of course, after they tried to drug me and,
right. Right.
label me crazy and, you know,
Discredit you. Yeah.
anybody that comes in there that says something they don't like or anybody they deem a problem, they can label you, anything, and you lose your rights. You lose your rights.
Yeah. As with mental health, you totally
And I was
can.
17, so it was up to my mother what happened to me, but because they did the 5150, my mom couldn't get me out either. I had to stay in there until the
Right.
state allowed me to leave the hospital.
Now, I'm going to say in mental health care, because I was previously diagnosed as bipolar, been
Mm,
diagnosed as obsessive compulsive disorder. Um, I've had some really great doctors that genuinely wanted to help me,
yeah,
and did help me,
I bet they don't last long.
But in the end, like this last past year, I did finally get off medications, and I'm fine, by the way. Like, this is serving me better. The only reason I was really on them for so long and agreed to take them was because I had tremendous chronic migraines,
Yeah,
transform migraines for a long time. And I had just about given up. The pain was consuming me and I couldn't take it.
yeah, I
Uh,
know. That's when we
mhm.
started dating.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and and they put me on Topamax, and Topamax was a lifesaver for me at that time.
and it was
Um,
very expensive
very
if they
expensive.
didn't give it to you.
And I went through a series of like health issues after that near death experience where my mind began to develop way more clarity and like executive function was great. Like, I mean, really, my mind was working faster than ever. And I was understanding things that I don't want to say I was stupid before, but I definitely came back a lot
It's
smarter.
eye opening. Did you start studying more things after that in the
Oh,
metaphysical realm?
definitely. I mean, I was voracious about it. It was
Yeah,
just,
so that
I felt like I wanted to know it all because I just had to understand what had actually happened to me.
I was always a sensitive, like my whole life.
Hmm.
Everybody will tell you that. I had a lot of paranormal experiences and a lot of perception, heightened perception things that I lived through.
Hmm.
And once that out of body experience happened, I tried to induce my own out of body experience, and then I actually did it one time, and then I got scared because there's a risk at trying to do this yourself. Like you're leaving your body unattended. This is my theory. It's shared by a lot of people. When you leave your body, and if something else is near your body,
Mm.
it's pretty conceivable that that could enter your body as you're outside of your body.
I've heard that
Yeah,
before
and
too.
attached to you.
Um,
Like,
and I'm leery to like actually try to induce my own astral travel,
yeah,
because I have
that's
heard
what
that.
scared me too. I had a,
But I have had some spontaneous ones,
yeah,
like, um, and these aren't near death experiences that I'm talking about now. This was like a literal out of body experience,
yeah, it's the
astral
same way.
traveling, lucid dreaming, if you will.
It comes through and inducing when rapid eye movement starts, and it's deep meditation and
Hmm.
concentration, and you can force it. You know, probably not at will, but you can get good at it to where you could astral travel outside.
The last astral travel or out of body I had was when we lived down in the farmhouse in North Carolina.
Hmm.
And yeah, it popped out of my body, and I was attached by the silver cord, and it was the same sort of filmy kind of light, but it was definitely more foggy, dreamlike. But it was at night, and I literally swam through the air because you swim to move around when you're in that state. It
Yeah,
seems to be concurrent across the board that this is, you know, what you do. But I floated and swam from room to room, watching everybody sleep and just being like, what's going on?
yeah,
And then, I went back, and that's honestly the last time I remember out of body.
yeah. The time that I had my out of body experience where I induced it myself, I found a book called Adventures Beyond the Body: How to Experience Out of Body Travel, and I'll post a link to it in the comments so people can check it out. It's by William Bowman, and it took me a very long time to get good at it. It's a it's a small window that you have to actually perform it. But the time that I did that is when I got scared of it because when I was coming back to my body, I started ascending through the ceiling and passing through the ceiling and everything, and I was looking up, and then the fear of heights got to me for some reason. And when I looked down at my body, I started coming towards my body, and I saw a figure lurking near my body,
Mm-hmm.
staring at my body
Like
waiting,
lunch.
like waiting, yeah, like lunch. And after that, when I went to Edgar Casey's ARE Center at Virginia Beach, I talked about it with people, and it's not the best idea to make that happen. It's not. I wouldn't suggest doing it. Like it's just a risk you shouldn't take.
I am taking some advanced chakra classes right
Uh,
now. And one thing that I'm learning about is like the extra chakras. Everybody knows the
mm,
seven, or maybe they don't, but um, there are the extra chakras, like so you have your root, sacral, solar plexus, heart,
mm,
throat, third eye, and crown chakra. Those are the main ones, your main energy centers, and we'll get into that another day. But there's a couple of them. One is called the soma, which is in your
mm.
forehead, and it's basically like they call it the anchoring of the soul or whatever. So
So
the
it's
soma,
like that show we was watching.
yeah, yeah, the soma plexus, and then you have like your basically where the halo would sit,
Yeah,
in
the
religious
crown.
figures, yeah, on top of your head, and that is the soul chakra. And then that's like your halo, and your soma, what that does is it like anchors your soul chakra to your body so that you can go. I mean, this is what I'm learning anyway,
Yeah,
so that you can go on these astral travels and whatnot, and not worry about like losing yourself. You'll always know where home is.
yeah. I
So
just wanted people
just a
to
thought.
know. I just wanted people to know that, especially if you're very sensitive to things,
Right, yeah.
it's not necessarily safe to try that. There's risk to it. I believe it.
I
I
do.
saw
I do
it,
too. Yeah.
and it didn't feel right. I felt like I was cheating. You know, I was
Hmm.
I was doing something I shouldn't, and I almost paid. I don't know what that being would have done, but it wasn't good.
Right,
Whatever it
right,
was.
right. Well, with spiritual gifts and the ability to be able to see some of these realms and travel or whatever, does come a lot of responsibility. You have to learn how to hone your gift, how to protect yourself,
Yeah.
how you can utilize it to help people. So
And once something like that happens, we know from experience that it's not easy to shake it off. So
no, and you're
like
not supposed to.
curiosity should never put you in danger. And a lot of people don't realize how close they are to danger when they deal with things.
And so basically, we just wanted to kind of bring you guys up to date with, the biggest significator probably, definitely for me in my awakening, and
Yeah, me too.
probably for you. I mean,
Yeah,
you
me too.
you don't run and touch the other side without being affected.
Yeah.
And and indigenous cultures and stuff, the mark of the shaman was, somebody who had actually been through a serious illness, sickness, or whatever. And it normally tended to be the person that crossed the other side. Now, back then, I mean, most of the time you knew because that person would be hit by lightning,
Yeah.
but they lived outside, they lived with nature. But being able to go there and touch and come back, it does unlock something.
Yeah.
And yeah, they call it the mark of the shaman.
Yeah.
So that was what really like set it off the most. My initial experience, like what started for me, was about 20 years ago, I guess. There's some things that happened in childhood, but I kind of put it out of my head and got caught up with you know many many changes early on in life, a lot of movement, a
Yeah.
lot of changes, a little bit of
Absolutely. Yeah.
instability. But so I read it was the Celestine Prophecy.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
great, man. And
That's
I'd
another
never read a
change
book
my
like
life.
that before, talking about, how people try to struggle for power or energy over each other.
I'll put a link for that in the
Oh, yeah,
description
that'd be
too,
good.
so people can check it out.
And it talks about synchronicity.
Yeah.
And synchronicity is like those random coincidences that really, if you pay attention, you might catch a message like a wink from God,
Yeah.
the universe trying to direct you towards your path. Um, I did start experiencing those, and to me, that was like crazy. Every day was like an adventure for a while. It was definitely like opening up a new life.
Yeah.
And
The Celestine prophecy, it taught me that a lot of people forget why they're on Earth,
oh
and
yeah,
and you forget your importance here, and what your mission is that you're not aware of. Your subconscious mission. You forget about that when you start,
hmm
dealing with email and Facebook and this
the
app and
need
that
for
app, and
survival,
and
and
you forget that you have a purpose.
right,
You know,
right, right.
and that was about all this technology is supposed to move us ahead, but it really holds us back because we
Mm,
don't focus on the things we should be focusing on.
at the same time,
You
though,
just can't lose yourself in
you
it, is what I'm
can't. At the same time, though, like this was like the most access everybody on Earth like had basically this level playing field of being able to access
saying. Yeah,
all kinds of
if you
information
use it right,
if you use
but
it right.
most people
Yeah,
don't. I mean,
and from different perspectives
yeah,
all over the world.
yeah,
It
absolutely.
definitely like opened up your worldview.
Yeah,
And that kind of
It's a tool or a weapon.
that's right. That's right. And so, just to get back on track, like I said this podcast was going to be, what is the awakening process? What is it? What is it? What causes it? What are we awakening to? I knew I was going through this. I didn't even understand what it meant. I don't even know where I first heard the term, but that is what it was. It was like I was waking up, the veil was being lifted in terms of there's so much more to everything.
Yeah,
Um, so what is awakening? Awakening is when you, not just when you get up in the morning, but when you start to realize that there's more, there's something else, there's more that I feel like I have a purpose, I'm not fulfilling it. Why are we here? What is the meaning of life? Blah, blah, blah. All of these things are basic subjects that are part of an awakening process. What causes the awakening process can be many things. Some people never wake up to it. They're happy with the, you know, their life. They're happy, maybe, I don't know, going to work, coming home, drinking a beer. Every Friday we go to the bar, we come back, blah, blah, blah. And this is life.
Some people they can't grasp that there's more than that, you know.
Right. Or they
It's
just don't
scary.
care
It can be
to. They don't
scary
want
too,
to.
for a lot of people to
I
to
think
explore that.
so. And of course, like depending on what religion you were born
Yeah,
into, raised in, and whatnot.
dogma.
So I was raised in a very conservative Baptist environment. And of course, it was, we talk about heaven and hell, but there was no talk about anything extra,
Yeah,
really, because I had a lot of these experiences, and even as a kid, where I saw things that not everybody saw.
and they didn't want to explain it.
They didn't want
I
to
went through the
explain it,
same thing.
and they couldn't explain it, or they'd say, let's pray on it. And
Or don't question God.
don't question
It's not
God.
for you to
Yeah.
know. Or
And when
yeah,
me and you first got together,
hmm
like your biggest problem, you said, like, I need to know, why do bad things happen to good people?
yeah,
And, I never had a great answer for that, except for, God has a plan, which is true. God does have a plan, but we have free will. Um, and like that wasn't a really solid answer for you. Like it
yeah.
still doesn't make you feel like justice for little kids that get murdered
Well,
and
you're taught like God is almighty and all
right, right,
powerful. You start to question, why doesn't he stop this bus from crashing and killing these kids, or kids dying from whatever disease, and
right.
like, what did they do to deserve that? And I never questioned if God existed. I questioned his tactics. And if nobody can answer that for me, I wasn't going to stop until God gave me the answer.
And my religion told me, don't question
Yeah, of
God.
course.
Like that's the worst thing you can do.
You're
And
going to hell if you do that.
it
Yeah.
just, like, okay, I got to put this thought out of my mind because I'm being sacrilegious. And, in the end, what really helped me the most with all this process was, so what are we awakening to? That's the other question. We are awakening to who we really are and what our divine purpose is. Okay.
Hmm.
And this is controversial. Not everybody's going to agree with me. Um,
We can only give our point of view and what we live.
absolutely. Absolutely. This
And we
is,
are well experienced in all of the things we're talking about.
yeah, I mean,
We've been through things that a lot of people never see in their life. And it's so consistent that we can't live in the humdrum everyday world that a lot of people live in. We are stuck in the
in between,
metaphysical realm because we have to deal with it so much.
we're on the bridge a lot.
It's part of being sensitive.
So, um, let's see, I don't know. What are we awakening to? Okay, so we are awakening to the fact that this isn't it. Okay, so first of all, if you were atheist and you started going through this, you probably would not be feeling like, okay, I just go to sleep and die and that's it. Um, we are divine individuals. We are spiritual entities living a human experience.
Yeah.
So, for me, what that means is those questions, why do good things happen, or why do bad things happen to good people? Why does this horrible stuff happen? Um, I have come to believe, and I actually, even as a child, always very much resonated with reincarnation, even though that's not what I was taught, raised as conservative. My background with my,
Yeah.
my relatives and stuff, I come from the Chickasaw Nation as my relatives, my ancestors.
Yeah.
So definitely had sort of a different spiritual perspective, but reincarnation was something I believed in my gut. Um, so yes, I believe that Earth is basically a school that we come to learn lessons,
Yeah.
to help our our spiritual growth, like our soul's journey as
Yeah.
opposed to our human journey. So a lot of times I do think we make contracts and we agree to, like, we're going to learn this lesson, this lesson, this lesson.
Yeah.
We don't know how it's going to happen, but so what we're doing is we're awakening to the fact that we're more than just, I don't know, a painter or whatever, whatever. We are taking a soul journey, This is just one small aspect of it.
Yeah.
And death is not an ending, but a door.
Yeah.
So,
Another
um,
step.
yeah. And so, having that said, there's a whole lot more that's gone on during awakening. That's part of it. Sometimes you take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but this is a good place to start. And
Yeah.
look forward to our next episode.
This is the takeaway from religion from Layne. This is a original take from me. Religion is a lie, but God is real.
God is
Religion is
definitely
the
real.
biggest lie ever told because it's used to control people. And you don't need religion to have a relationship with your creator. And that's what I learned through my experience and not taking those answers that I was given.
Yeah, what I
And
learned. Yeah,
my relationship is directly with God, and it's pure, and it has no outside influence from other people because I found it myself.
right.
And I don't have to play these games to talk to God. Yeah.
For me, I was searching for a connection that I was not getting
Yeah.
through organized religion. I just wasn't feeling it. I thought something was wrong with me. I
Yeah.
wasn't spiritual.
And a lot of people do. They go to church and it's great and it's wonderful. That's perfect. I'm speaking for me, like it just wasn't enough. It wasn't enough to go to church.
Well,
And and it was probably the biggest place I ever felt judged. I
yeah,
never felt comfortable in any church.
right, right.
But anyway, it's yeah.
So, like, religion is a way to take spirituality and use it to control people. I do feel most of the time. Now, some people are able to find that peace and, you know, they vibe with it and it's all the everything is everything. And that's great for them. It just wasn't for me. I never felt like I was making any kind of divine connection in those buildings like I did when I went outside and sat on top of
Yeah.
a big rock on the mountain
Yeah.
and breathed it in.
I had
And
religious experiences with, a couple friends and talking late night,
oh,
even
yeah,
drinking or whatever. That was spiritual for us. We sit around and talked about things like this forever
companionship,
and
yeah.
come to more conclusions than any church ever gave me, you know?
Mm,
And we were free to talk. It wasn't restricted to the guidelines that they put out to control you, you know?
right, right. So, just in closing, I want to say um, I found that I'm not religious, but I am very spiritual.
Yeah.
And my relationship with God began when I gave up on trying to find it through religion
Yeah.
and started allowing it to happen and not blocking it. I was listening to my intuition. My final thing I'm going to say today, and then we'll pick back up next time, is that synchronicity is God's language to communicate directly to you.
Yeah.
When you see those, they are not coincidences. When you know that you're seeing something and you're seeing it again and again, or hearing it, feeling it, whatever, this is God speaking to you directly. He's saying, come and have a relationship with me. I want to be a part of your life. I want to help you. I want to co-create with you.
And you have to come to God. God
Definitely.
doesn't come to you.
Yeah.
That's not how you learn. And that's not the lessons you're here to be taught. You have to come to God. And it's gonna have to be on your own terms. You have to find that way yourself. And it's hard, but
There's no right way and there's no
no,
wrong
there
way.
isn't. There isn't.
You know in your heart when it hits you. You
Yeah.
know, you feel that peace, you feel that love, you feel that excitement, and you start to develop the love for everybody, the feeling of the unity.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's it.
But yeah, I'm for anybody. Anything that betters you in your life, I'm for. I don't care what it is. If you're a Muslim, Jew, I don't care what you are. If it fulfills you and makes you a better person, that's the best thing for you to do. And that's how I look at everything. And intentions are everything. We talk about this all the time. If your intentions are right,
Hmm.
you don't make wrong choices.
Right,
You
right.
make mistakes, but nothing is wrong. You're still going in the right direction if your intentions are good and are for pure reasons.
I do want to say this one thing. Um, Religion was very empty for me most of the time, but the one part of it that I felt and felt was real um, And so I'm not going to say like this is wrong, this is right, whatever. But the one part of that Baptist religion that I did resonate with, that I brought with me, and it strengthened my relationship with God, was Jesus.
Yeah.
Like I did feel his love, but I was not feeling like the judgment or, feeling fear like I was preached at a lot before. The message I got from him was like one of true unconditional love, warmth, and just, love your neighbor.
Yeah.
Love is the driving force in nature. It's the
You
most
come from
powerful
love, you
force.
don't go wrong.
Right.
You don't go wrong.
So, I don't believe that there's just one way that's right. I think that with good intentions and with love, you'll have a good experience, a positive relationship with God.
By following the golden rule, do unto
Exactly.
others as you want to be done to you. And if you do that every time, you're doing good in life. You're doing good.
Hmm.
And you'll be successful.
True that,
You'll
true
get your
that.
answers. Do you wanna give your Facebook page or
Oh, yeah, yeah. And we were going to try to take some calls today, but we kind of ran out of time. We're running a little bit long. So if you guys want to drop us a line, please go to my Facebook page. It's called Light Seed Oracle. That's Light, LIGHTSEED, and then Oracle.
and you're on all social media platforms under the same name?
Right, right. I'm on, what is it, Twitter and
Instagram,
Instagram, working on TikTok,
WordPress,
WordPress.
all that can be reached through a Facebook page. All the links are there.
Right.
My pages are Twisted Codex, CODEX. That's my blog, and Twisted Attic on Facebook, and my Twisted Attic, and that's Tina and I's art page and writing and glass etching and tattooing and Brazilian airbrushing, balloon throwing, animal making sessions and whatnot. Just playing. We do
All
everything.
things creative,
All things creative.
And then the Lightseed Oracle page. I'm trying to just inform people on different aspects of natural health, things they can do. I do offer sessions myself. Right, currently I'm doing distance Reiki. Um, so that definitely, if you don't know what that is, it's an Eastern medicine sort of thing. It's stemmed in Japan, really, but it's about helping moving stagnant energy in your body. Um, it's about treating mind, body, and spirit for total healing. And
And it works.
it
It
definitely
works.
works. I also do crystal therapy. Um, I've been through a total healing myself. Okay, so I had the chronic migraines. I was bit by a tick. I had Lyme disease. The first year I was so sick, I had literal pneumonia, double pneumonia, like 3 times.
Yeah.
And I was sick a lot. I have a broken vertebrae at my L1 junction in my back. Um, Used to just be in pain and be sick all the time.
And her butt has a crack in it, so
My butt has
it's
a literal crack in
it's
it.
terrible.
Can't be repaired.
Yeah,
But
we'll get you a new one.
I am no longer currently on any medications. Um,
Yay!
Yay, yeah. I have had a total healing of all my body systems. I don't have pain anymore, except occasionally I might pick up the weather and feel a little under the weather.
Through metaphysical means and natural
Hmm.
things that come from the earth,
Through God, yeah.
and yeah, and God, she made a full recovery, and she's happier than I've ever seen her. So I'm proud of you.
I also like balanced out my mental health issues. So, like, basically, I had to kind of learn to adjust myself. I pick up on other people's stuff sometimes and
And you learn to trust yourself.
learn to trust
That's the
myself.
key.
Yeah. And, I mean, that's it. Like, if I get sick, if I get a cold or something, it typically passes really, really quickly.
Yeah.
Um, if I ever get sick enough to run a fever, it'll kill it all. But, um, that's about it. I mean, so check us out. I also do intuitive readings for fee, and so give us a like,
Yeah. Give us a like on
send
our
us a
page.
message, talk about it, tell us about your near-death
Buy
experiences.
some art. We make jewelry.
Yeah,
Get
yeah,
some
yeah.
sessions, and Thank you for spending time with us today.
Keep your vibe high. We love you.
Love and light, and everybody have the day you deserve.